Stealing money.
What is up, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Ain't It Funky podcast. My guest today is the one and only Rich Redmond. Rich is a jack of all trades: drummer, actor, public speaker, author, educator, podcast host. Truly, it seems like there's nothing Rich does not excel at. Rich is the drummer for country star Jason Aldean and one of the most in-demand session players out of Nashville, Tennessee. He has played on over 30 number one hits and was voted Country Drummer of the Year by Modern Drummer magazine in 2010, 2016, 2017, and 2018. Rich's credentials boast a who's who of the music business, including Carrie Underwood, Bryan Adams, Ludacris, Billy Gibbons, Miranda Lambert, Keith Urban, Slash, and many, many more. In our conversation, we spoke about the current session climate in Nashville, the importance of showmanship as a drummer, chops culture, and more. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe wherever you're listening. The video version is available on YouTube as well. Thanks for tuning in, and enjoy. All right, Rich Redmond, welcome into the podcast.
What is up, my friend? How are you doing, man?
Very good. Rich, I appreciate you being here, man.
Oh, we're just separated by a massive ocean. No big deal. What time is it there? Is it 6 p.m. dinner time?
It's 4:10 right now. So 4 p.m.
Gotcha.
in the early evening. But yeah, so what have you had going on, Rich? I know you're a busy guy. Tell me sort of about a routine in your life. Maybe walk me through sort of a weekly routine.
God, man, there are no routines. Right, as you know, this is just, you just go to where the gig is and then it's like hurry up and wait, right? Trains, planes, automobiles. I've been to Austin, Texas 2 times this year already for award shows and stuff. And sometimes you have to fly in the day before for camera blocking. Then you got to wait around, do the award show, and then there's a flight. So to play sometimes 3 minutes of music, you got 3 days. But this is the life we signed up for. You know, we're not digging ditches. We're not on the side of the road. It's a beautiful thing, man. So this week is kind of light with Aldean. So I just took the last 4 days to batch my podcast. I'm in the middle of recording 10 episodes, and I just drip them out, a new episode every Friday. I don't know when your episodes drop, but they say in the podcasting land, you're supposed to be consistent with your release schedule, like every Friday at a certain time. And I am so bad about that. I try to get the day, but not the time. Yeah. So anyways, this is about you, man. I'm here to learn about you and your love of Nigel Olsson and all that kind of stuff. And we met in the craziest of places in Franklin, Tennessee.
That's right, man. Yeah. That was a funny one because as you say, I for the listeners that don't know, I've been touring with the Elton John tribute the past couple of years, and so we were playing. I think we did 2 or 3 shows in Nashville. And then we just happened to be staying at like it wasn't the Hampton Inn. No. Well, some hotel anyway. We were staying in Franklin, right next to that bagel shop. Right. And then one day I went to Starbucks, got a coffee, and I was like, I'm going to go get a bagel. I walk in and I see you. And the funny thing is actually a week before that, I remember telling you this, I was watching your Drumeo video that you'd done. And so it was a funny coincidence that you just happened to be there. And
well, that's cool. Yeah. I'm glad that we connected. I got another friend over across the pond. Are bagels a thing in the UK?
They've got them somewhere. I saw there was a New York bagel place that opened up here, kind of New York. So I don't know if they're any good. I kind of doubt it. I'm not sure if
right. You got to have that New York City water. Yeah.
Yeah, and also just the schmear and the bagels in New York are something else, man. It's beautiful how you can just get a great bagel just from any cart
on any street corner, right?
Love New York, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So how long have you been playing in that band, and what are your guys like goals? Just like work as much as humanly possible.
Pretty much, yeah. It's been pretty wild. We've been touring. So this year we've sort of graduated to theaters. So we went from like bars and breweries and stuff to now playing theaters. And we're even doing this year. We're doing the Troubadour, so I'm going back out in 2 weeks, and we're doing another like 3-month run. We're playing the Troubadour, headlining the Troubadour, which is crazy because
Right where that incident happened, where supposedly he levitated off the floor. He was so good that night.
That's right. That's the one.
Good for you, man. Yeah, I used to
Thank
live
you.
right around
Thank
the
you.
corner there for a couple years.
Oh,
Man.
sweet.
You'll love it.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you're back and forth between LA anyway a lot, right?
Very much. I did it for years and years and years. And this year I'm just taking a break. I'm just like refocusing on like Nashville, the city that made me. So I'm just enjoying, Nashville and my friends and not having to be on an airplane so much.
Yeah. Rich, there's something that I wanted to sort of ask you. That there's usually a segment in the podcast where I ask people about like practice. I know that you went to, was it Texas Tech? I think in El Paso. Is that right?
Well, I was raised in El Paso. I'm originally from Connecticut. Moved to El Paso, Texas. Total culture shock when I was 11. And then I went to Texas Tech University, which is a smaller university, smaller music program, but I got to get tons of experience. I studied with this amazing guy, Alan Shin. And then I ended up studying with Ed Sof and Ron Fink and Dr. Shatroma and Henry Oxtel and all these amazing teachers at the University of North Texas. And so you would know drummers that went there like Steve Houghton, Ray Brinker, Greg Bissonette, Keith Carlock. I mean, it was something in the water there, man.
Yeah, but was there at that time? I know you said you were playing like loads of different gigs, the big band, the Latin stuff, all kinds of stuff. But was there a phase where you sort of literally like sat down and practiced for like 8, 10, 12 hours? Did you have that phase?
Oh yes, definitely in my early teens, late teens, all through college. Of course, college was a journey that took me about 7 years, because once you get the 2 pieces of paper and then you got to do all your recitals and juries, and then even for the undergrad degree, I had to do some teaching where you do your student teaching, where you're up. I'm conducting a concert band, I'm conducting the jazz ensemble and the marching band. Good all around education, even though I knew I wanted to just be a player. But the education stuff really has come in handy. But no, always practicing as much as humanly possible. And that gets very difficult. The older you get, is your life gets more complicated and there's more distractions. And as you know, now you're traveling, you're a month on the road. When can you sit down on a kit for 8 hours a day? So there was definitely that. And I would slice and dice my practice. I would play records. I'd work on my reading. I sight read new material every day. Work on my styles, continue working on my hand development. So that's, if you can be kind of very methodical in your practice, instead of just sitting down and jamming and playing things over and over that you already know how to do, that almost falls into playing along with the record category, which is great. But then you got to be pushing yourself and working on the things that you really can't do. So, but then eventually it'll be so comfortable that you can whip that stuff out on stage. You don't want to practice on stage. You want to play the things you know how to do that you're going to be able to knock out of the ballpark on stage.
Right. It's like Thomas Lang says, don't practice when you play, don't play when you practice.
Perfect. Yeah. Just play music. And if that means going boom, crack for 3.5 minutes, then there you go.
Right. But did you, when you would practice, would you have like a practice log? Would you be keeping track of, BPM and what material you were learning? Or was it just kind of like you I guess instinctively felt what you needed to work on?
Probably instinctively felt. And then, I'm sure at certain points there was BPM development, maybe way back when I was in the marching band. I did marching band for 8 years, which I think is really great for your hands. And, to me, that was 7 years too long, but you do it and it's great because you get your hand development, you get your reading together. It's really great for precision, because you got 10 guys on a snare drum that are trying to match perfectly. And that's really going to help your time, your feel, your execution, your articulation, all that kind of stuff. So maybe at that time I was like, oh, I can only do my double stroke roll at 120 and let's get it to 121. Probably in that period of my life I did that. Yeah.
All right. Gotcha. And what because obviously you were playing all those different styles of music, was because I know you mentioned the Joel Rothman books and other podcasts. What were some of the things you were kind of using to become a well-rounded player, if you will?
Yeah. Yeah, I think your question is what other books did I use, or like because the Joel Rothman stuff is there. He had a book early on called The Encyclopedia of Rock and Roll Drumming, or it was the Bible of rock and roll drumming, and it was like variations. It was like a thick book with variations on ding ding ka digga digga ding ka, right, which is the buy you a house groove. You know, I mean, you're going to be playing that thing for the rest of your life, and that was a good start. And then quickly you get into stick control, George Lawrence Stone. You get into accents and rebounds by Stick Lawrence Control. You get into master studies by Joe Morella. You get into essential styles by Steve Houghton and Ted Reed, syncopation for the modern drummer, all the Chafee stuff. I mean, once you learn how to read, the world is your oyster. And that's kind of like a backbone of my educational philosophy. You know, I'll have guys that come in and they'll try to tune up and try to find what their Achilles heels are. And I say, well, man, if you can read, you could be your own teacher for the rest of your life. And that's just one skill that I just can't imagine getting through life not having, is the ability to either sit down and interpret a chart, which opens you up to Broadway, off-Broadway, cruise ships, working with loads of bands because you can write out the material, and or be in a recording studio or a situation where you have to learn a lot of material and you got to create your own charts. So either interpreting a chart right off the bat or creating your own charts is a skill set that is really going to help people propel their career, especially if they want to do more than just be a weekend warrior. You know, sometimes I'm jealous of those guys. They're like, yeah, I just played this local pub scene on Friday and Saturday. I have a good time with my mates. And we, you know, if you want to do it pro, man, it's like you just got to say yes to everything, and you never know where you're going to find yourself. You're opening up for the puppet show. You're playing a community theater play. You're doing weddings and bar mitzvahs. You're doing supermarket grand openings. You just, you know, you got to take it all, which is a good thing, I think. You know,
for sure. Was there ever any like style of music that you took the job where you were kind of thinking like, oh, I don't really like this music, but I'm doing it anyway for the money? Or
no, there's I pretty much like all kinds of music. I mean, I can respect all kinds of music. Probably the only music that I don't play is like blast beat Cookie Monster stuff, you know, and that's just not in my DNA. I don't relate to it. I don't get it. I think that some of the musicianship associated with it is incredible. But I think the version of that for me is just playing bad songs. I mean, you're going to have to play really bad songs. Sometimes, you know, Nashville is the songwriting capital of the world, so everybody's working on their craft here. And right now it's a little after 10 a.m. in Nashville, which means everybody is at a writing session trying to crank out the next hit for Jason, Keith Urban, Luke Bryan, you know, and there's those people that are the top of their craft that have all the experience and they understand the genre and they put a melody and a story together, and that's going to get to the highest bidder. That's probably going to get cut. And there's people that move here and they're just working on it. It might take them 10, 20 years to get the craft of songwriting down. And you will have to play some of their really horrible songs, but that's okay because, you know, they're working on your craft, you're working on it, and it's a team effort, you know, and you can kind of climb the ranks together. But no, as many good songs as I played some really bad ones too. But you know what? We still get to play the drums. We still get to enjoy our craft. We still get to enjoy the fact that our skill set is helping bring someone's vision to fruition, helping bring their dreams to fruition. It's incredibly powerful thing that we do, man. It's more than just playing the drums. We're changing lives. We are affecting people in such a strong way. And so that's when you have bad times or down times in this career track, you have to hold on to that fact that what we're doing is very powerful and very important, you know?
For sure, man, for sure.
Yeah.
And because obviously you're one of the sort of on-call top like session guys in Nashville. So what would you say like the studio climate is like in Nashville? Because you know how people sometimes say nowadays the kind of session musician of back in the day, you know how it was back in LA, or you talk about the
60s, 70s, 80s, and
yeah, like that era is dead. But what's the climate like for you as a session musician? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure. Yeah, the session climate has changed, I think, globally, and even in these energy points, these music towns, your New Yorks, your LAs, your Nashvilles. Miami, Chicago's, Austin's. There's music to be made in all those circles, but Nashville truly is. Nashville and probably Los Angeles are one of the few places where just music is being made all the time, but at a fraction of what it was in that Velvet Rope heyday. But cream rises. So if you're great at your skill set and you've developed relationships and you're reliable, people want to work with people they know, they like, and they trust. They're always going to go with someone who's proven. Then you can cultivate this thing. And they usually say that the lifespan of a session drummer is about 5 years. And once you get in and you become a hot commodity, you got about 5 years to do the thing, save your money. But then there's guys like, a lot of the guys that are here in Nashville, Greg Morrow, Paul Lime, Lonnie Wilson, Eddie Bears. These guys have been at it 20, 30, 40 years where they're top call guys. I don't even consider myself, I'm a little bit younger than those guys, and I've been active because I split the time between the road. I love it. I don't want to just do one thing. Because the disease is, if you're just waiting for the phone to ring as a session drummer, sometimes there's weeks where you are just waiting, man, and the phone ain't ringing. And it's not because of your talent or your ability. It's just that there's no work that week, or the particular producers or the people in your circle, they don't have any work that week. So that's why I like always having a job in the music industry. And my job is going out on that bus and playing those 24 songs for a megastar. And then I can come home and hopefully the phone will be ringing, or I can create work Sunday through Wednesday. So it creates you can satisfy your soul in both ways. But as far as like cultivating a session career, this is one of the places to do it. Get a great sounding drum set, a couple of snare drums, some percussion, have your reading together, know the genre, be able to read charts, create charts, know about the Nashville number system. You can get in the game. You can come here and you can make it happen. Is it going to be difficult? Yeah, it can happen in 5 minutes. It can happen it might take 5 years. But I'm just happy to be in the mix because there's probably 40 or 50 just world-class drummers that are all here, and we're all just waiting for the phone to ring. And we're all up for the same work, which is great. So just to be here and be in the mix and be on the call sheet is a cool thing. It really is.
Hell yeah. Is there still, would you say there's still a chance for like young players obviously you said people move and then it could take 5 minutes, 5 years, but so would you say, is there still a chance for young players to come in and still become like one of these on-call guys, or is it usually just the same?
Oh yeah, man. There's always chance. Like, there's all these young lions. I was always the youngest player in the room in every band that I was in on every session. And now I'm like one of the guys. I'm the established guys, and there's young guys that are coming in. And I remember when I was that guy. So I'm always like open and kind and nurturing, and I can feel their pain because they're trying to make that thing happen. Maybe they have a young wife, or they just had a baby and they want to buy a house, and that's getting harder to do. And they don't want to get a day job. They want to follow this thing through, man. I can respect that. It's, there's work here. You can play around town. You can play for a touring act, and you could record in the Music Row studios. And then of course, the expectation now is to have a bonus room in your house where you can put up the Orlex and the Audi mute and, rip the carpet out and float the floor. And, you got your space. It's an expectation to have a space nowadays. And it doesn't even have to be that sexy. It could be a very, very small 300 square foot room, 8-foot ceilings, and you just figure out how to make it sound good. But those are 4 ways to create a living here. And like, I do all 4, if there's something if there's an outlet musically, I want to be represented in that. I want to be on the list. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. And that's terribly exciting. The ability to play around town, record from your house, record from Music Row, jump on a tour bus. And then you can teach, you could teach online, you could teach in person, you could teach for an entity like a School of Rock or a Bach to Rock or a Rock Stars of Tomorrow, or in the public school system or at a music store. So when people are crying in their Cheerios saying like, it's hard, I can't do this, it's not like it was, there's work out there, man. You just got to turn the stones, shake the trees, and throw your hat in the ring, and it can be done. You just got to work harder, I think, than you did in the the glorified 70s and 80s where the money was just being spent on this product called music. And now we can't do that because music is not yielding a return on investment. Really, the only way to do it is to create the big money is to create intellectual property like publishing, license your songs to TV and film, and then get out on the bus and then sell T-shirts and hoodies. It's like, that's the angle for the music business these days.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's I think there's something to be said for like the multiple income. Like I feel like nowadays it's almost not possible to live off just one stream of income, whether it be like just touring or just. Would you say that's true? Is that
absolutely true, brother? Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. It was like easier back in the day, just like I'm in a famous band, right? Or like I've got this gig with this. I have a gig with he's now an icon. I mean, he's the entertainer of the decade. It's unbelievable, and it didn't happen in 2 years. It took 20 years, and now. So it's very easy when you get into a situation like that where you're just like, I'm good, but I've got free time now. I've got more free time than I've ever had because we used to do, 225 shows a year, never home. You come home, the plant's dead. There's a stack of bills on the, your dog's dead. You come home and so, but now, we're only doing maybe 50, 60 shows a year. So it's like, all right, I got all this extra time. This is that I can, book speeches and clinics and create products. And maybe I could, my third book just came out a year ago, and then I'll probably be working on the fourth, So the idle time is the devil's playground. That's when the devil's like, but if you stay focused and you stay busy and you have goals at all time and you're moving in a forward direction in your life, then you can keep that guy at bay.
Yeah, because I mean, you are like it fascinates me how much of a like driven guy you are, in that you have your fingers in so many different pies, and it's like with this constant like infectious energy. It feels like you give like 110% in like every endeavor you do. Do you have an agent, or is that all you?
You're looking at Rich Redmond LLC. It's I have Crash Entertainment. That's kind of like my entertainment company, and it's my umbrella that everything kind of goes under. But no, that's the thing about the music business is you'll know when you need a manager. Like it's when your life becomes unmanageable. But then you got to realize, hey, you're going to have to stroke that guy 10, 15, 20% of everything you make. So if you're willing in the early days to just roll up your sleeves and continue, that you can hold on to that percentage, and maybe that percentage makes all the difference in the world. But no, on my own, like I'm on my computer, everything is all color coded on the iCal, and you constantly got to be responding to all these different ways we communicate now. And work comes to me through LinkedIn, Facebook, direct messages, my website, but most importantly, word of mouth, So I just had a new friend moved to Nashville this week, and he's like, what do I do? I was like, oh, this is the fun part of your career path. You just get to go out every night. You get to go out every night as part of your job and socialize and create relationships and try to find your tribe and support the music community. Because if you support the music community, it'll support you. And then it's a very out of sight, out of mind industry. So you have to get out on the town. You don't have to party every night. Like, oh my God, we did 6 tequila shots. I mean, that's going to be unsustainable. You can't do that. You got to go out. Maybe you have your coffee in your hand and you're watching bands and you're going to songwriter nights and you're connecting with people and trying to create real relationships. I said, that's the job. And then when you get an opportunity, you say yes, and you say yes until you can say no. And sometimes it might take 20 years before you can say no. And why would we want to say no anyways? If somebody asks us to play music, hey, I got a pool party. Hey, I'm opening up a brand new community center, and we're going to be the band in the corner. And even as a speaker, as a motivational speaker, I took any gig, man. I've done speeches and clinics at bars where they had the game on behind me. You know what I mean? And they couldn't turn off the game. And I was like, all right, this is just a challenge. This is one of those things that you hear the Jerry Seinfelds and the Robin Williams talk about, going about their career and doing anything. And then eventually the gigs get better,
Sure. Yeah. And so, yeah, so your advice for like young people or whoever moving to Nashville would be hit the ground running, go out, go out to the bars, whether it's Lower Broadway or anywhere else in Nashville. And maybe can you elaborate on that a little bit? What would you sort of tell somebody who's moving to town?
Yeah, man, you get a copy of the city's rag. Our little entertainment rag is called the Nashville Scene. In LA, you get the LA Weekly, and you get that thing. It's got a listing of all the entertainment venues and where all the singer-songwriter nights are, and the list of where all the bands are playing, and national bands are coming through. But there's also these pockets, like we have a place called Third and Lindsley and the Sutler, and these great music venues, the Basement East, the Brooklyn Bowl, and you just go, and they have local and regional acts, and you want to just go. You just want to enjoy music, and if you like what you hear, you go up. You can introduce yourself. Hey, I'm a new dude in town. I studied at Berkeley. No, I didn't graduate, but I'm ready to play. The whole thing. And dare I say, you have a business card, or you exchange numbers, and then a skill set that a lot of people don't do these days is follow up. If somebody says, hey, great to meet you, kid, call me on Monday, I have an idea for you, and you don't follow up, you're an idiot, because that guy just opened the door for you. He said, look, I want to help you, and then you don't follow up. So you got to follow up, and you just got out, like I said, get out in the community. Nashville, the whole musical economy is based on the songs. Unless you have the song, three chords and the truth, then session musicians can't be hired, a road band can't be hired, and then all the stuff in between. There's a million people here. That's kind of what I wrote in my book, Making It in Country Music. There's stage managers and road managers and managers, and there's carpenters and techs and social media managers and photographers and chefs and truck drivers and bus drivers, and they're all here. And it's interesting that I bring that up, because I hear a lot about friends and colleagues of mine that get major life-changing gigs from a hairdresser or from a receptionist at the front desk at a recording studio. So the moral of the story is make a lot of friends, zero enemies, and treat everybody the same, because that girl that's at the front desk at the recording studio could be the next Taylor Swift. And you're like, hey, you forgot my cheese on the burger, and there's no French fries. And, it's like, you could probably do without the French fries, and, just shut up and eat your plain burger. It's probably not her fault. And you just give her a break. You know what I mean? But if you create an ugly scene over something that small, well, that next Taylor Swift is going to remember that, and you're definitely not going to be her drummer.
Right. That's, yeah. It's like you kind of said in other interviews, well, I'm paraphrasing here, but that people first and foremost want to hire you as a person, as a cool dude or a cool chick, like somebody who's just a good hang. Like what it comes down to is like, do you want to spend 23 hours on the bus with that person, right? So, I think as you say, that makes sense that would be the most important thing, to just be kind to everyone.
Very true.
And be genuine, and
yeah, man. You gotta. The playing is an expectation, and then if you could just wrap it up with like, this guy or gal, they never complain. They're always on time. They make things happen. They're a team player. They're fun to be around. Just being a likable person is 99% of it, really. Right. And then you got to be able to play the gig, and play the gig consistently. And we really can't have bad days anymore. Even if it's like I said, you're sick, you got diarrhea, you got the flu, you just really can't. You just got to go play, man.
Yeah, and I think with camera phones these days, everyone's got their iPhone out, so it's like if you have a bad day, God forbid it ends up on the internet.
Oh my God, so bad, and it will.
Yeah,
it will, exactly. Man. Well, how old are you, man? What are you, like 23 or something?
I'm 27.
All right. That's when me and Jim Riley, we moved to Nashville when we were like 26, 27 years old, man.
Wow. Okay. Incredible. So there's still time for me to to move over to Nashville eventually.
Age is a number, age is a number, and some people love experience, but I will say it is it's a youth oriented business, and that's why we have a hair dye. Ta-da. You don't have to worry about it yet, but
yeah,
I had that same look, man. Short, spiky hair with very little product in my hair, larger glasses, get the flavor saver right there. Good,
it seems like you've always had that kind of that drive. Are you someone who's very good with like time management? Have you practiced your time management, getting up early and then kind of having I don't know whether it's like a Mark Wahlberg routine, if you get up at 4 a.m. and like the workout, the meditation, or sort of walk me through kind of.
I'm not that disciplined. I wish I was that disciplined, but like my girlfriend and I, we're like creatives, and most of my girlfriends have been creatives, and I love getting things done, and I always have my to-do list, and I always like to have the balance of like every day should include a workout. Every day should include responding to business, trying to get some practice in, and then working in your craft and moving that ball down the field. But, I don't know if Mark Wahlberg would keep that kind of a schedule if he wasn't a movie star. I mean, it's like 4 a.m. You see pictures of like Tom Cruise, like when he's on vacation and takes his shirt off at the beach. He doesn't look like he looks in the last movie he made, because the last movie he made 2 months before he started like eating lettuce and beef tartare. 2 months before. But it's hard to do that year round. You know what I mean? So
wild, yeah.
I wish I had like a bedtime. I think bedtimes come a lot with people that have children. You know what I mean? Because they're like, it's self-preservation. I got to be in bed by 10 because my kid is going to get me up at 6, right? So they shoot for 10. Sometimes at 10 o'clock, I'm sitting down to watch Friends, man. You know what I mean? It's like, you got to be able to rest your mind and relax and let your mind wander a little bit. But no, I just know what the next day is going to bring me. And then I just try to get the appropriate amount of sleep, as much sleep as I can, to get up and kill that day. And I think that comes from living in two places, living as a studio musician where you have to be getting drum sounds at 9 in the morning. So getting up early enough to have a cup of coffee and pack the car, get to the session in time to get drum sounds at 9 o'clock. And then when you're on the road, sometimes you don't get off stage until 11:30 at night, and it takes 2 hours to wind down from the adrenaline. And so you're like, okay, so if I'm in bed by 2:30 in the morning and I want to get at least 7 hours sleep, that puts me getting up at nights. So then you might get up a little bit later on the road. So I just tell everybody my rules of the road are never pass up a hot meal, never pass up a hot shower. And then if you have the ability to get some sleep, get some sleep. So probably 15 years on the road, I was one of the first guys always up on the bus, because I would get up and I'd be like shaving on a moving bus and trying to flat iron my hair and fix it, because as soon as that bus pulled into the venue, some dude was waiting with a car running, was going to get me to a drum shop so I could do a clinic at noon, so which means you want to try to get there at 10:30 to see if they've set up the kit any way that looks like a kit. Like you told, sometimes you're pulling drums out of styrofoam cases and all the little packing peanuts are coming out. You're like, oh my God, how am I going to do this in 1 hour? And you get it done. So very long answer for the idea that I just face each day as its own entity, and how can I possibly get the most done in that day?
All right. Are you someone who like works out daily? Is that something?
Yeah, this week was rough because I did 9 podcasts, and as you know, podcasts, you have to research your guests. You have to send out the Zoom links. You have to do the interview, which is high energy. You have to thinking, even just using your mind, being a good host, shining a light on someone, being energized. It's very taxing on the mind. And if you do 3 a day, woo. But yeah, I like to do flexibility and mobility training. I like to do HIIT exercises. I was a runner for a very long time, but now I'm more of like, you get on the pre-core for 20, get on the stair stepper for 20, go for a hike, try to get to 10,000 steps. So I'm just always having my body guess. And then, if I go to a gym and it's more of a machine type gym, I'm like, let's do the machine circuit today. And if underneath the bus, I carry Bowflex weights that go from 5 to 50. I got a Bosu. I got an exercise. I got a bench. I got ropes. I got bands. I got a Bluetooth player. So my favorite time of year is like the heat of July and August. And I open up the bay of the bus and I pull out all of my workout gear and I crank up some Ronnie James Dio or some Bad Company or something. I got stacks of Gatorades and waters and my athletic greens, and we just go. It's like a prison workout, and it's right there. And then boom, it goes back in the bay of the bus, and like, all right, let's go to sound check. You feel like $1 million, and there's no way you don't have to get into a runner van and drive 30 minutes to a Planet Fitness. It's like right there. So you can use the venue as almost like a parkour, training facility, which is kind of fun. Run the steps, run the hills.
Yeah, no, that's I think, working out on the road is something that really, strengthens that mindset. And I mean, being on the road is tiring. Like it seems glamorous to a lot of people, but then once you're actually doing it, it's like, man, I'm just perpetually tired. But I think working out, I also found really until I got sciatica, that is, but working out every day, like just, it kind of leveled out my mood, my energy, my whole mindset.
Yeah, even just mentally, and how you deal with your bandmates. And
that's right.
And it's harder, like when you're in the early days and you're in a van and you got to do driving shifts, and that is just hard to get anything productive done because you're always worried about the driver falling asleep and you're just uncomfortable all the time. And it's like, oh my God, we pulled up to the venue, we're late to sound check. How are you going to get to a gym, man? You got to try to figure out how to check into the hotel. And then as things get better, you're in a bus, you might have a tour manager. The next step is usually hotel rooms, but you have just a shower room for the whole band. And then a step up from that is there's hotel rooms, but it's 2 to a room. I did that for a year where you have no privacy and you're like, oh, I got to make a phone call, so I better go to the lobby of the hotel. And you got to take turns taking showers. And like I said, no privacy. And then when your own hotel room finally happens, you're like, oh, this is amazing. I could just eat Cheetos and watch Friends, if I want to, It's cool. It's a nice treat.
So do you get your own hotel room with Jason Aldean?
Yeah, that is the case, and it's wonderful. But a lot of times, we will only get them if we're doing like a festival where we're not sound checking. Because giant festivals, we don't sound check because we don't usually do that. But when we're like an arena band, so we really fancy ourselves like an amphitheater and arena band. So when we do that circuit, which will be July to October, we just use the venue as home base because we have to do a sound check right in the middle of the day at 3:00. So it doesn't make sense to like schlep all your gear to a hotel and then have to come back to do the sound check and then go back to the hotel. And then you're caught in 5:00 traffic with everybody coming in to tailgate and do all that stuff. So that becomes problematic. And then sometimes if we have like 2 nights at a casino, like we have a casino gig on Saturday, and I have my own hotel room, it would be great, man. It'd be fun. So yeah,
that is an incredible luxury. Yeah. I mean, I gotta say, I get on with the bassist in the Elton tribute, like him and I would get on swimmingly. So that's great. But yeah, if it were anybody else, I mean, the risk of something, whether it's like, I don't know. It could be anything from the personality to body odor or.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that sounds crass, but it's like that's a genuine concern when you're on tour. It's totally. Hygiene.
I was watching some of your videos on Instagram. Is it the bass player that films you? Is that your buddy?
Yeah.
Because you have some videos where there's a lot of walking around. Somebody's filming.
Usually I kind of rope him into film. I'm like, here,
look
man,
at that.
Get a clip for the socials, but yeah, nice. Man, I appreciate you watching my videos, man.
Of course, man. Yeah, you got those new chops. I don't want to call them gospel chops, but it's like that's what it sometimes reminds. It's just the dense hand to foot combinations. Really great.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that because I feel like I overthink like the chops thing a lot just because of social media. Like it's kind of like this bug that gets in your brain. I never used to be like this obsessed about kind of not that I'm obsessed about gospel chops or about practicing gospel chops necessarily, but it's kind of like Yeah, I feel like social media is sometimes it just weighs on my mind that
Well,
I'm
you know
like,
what I would
oh
do? My
man,
only
all
suggestion
these.
for you is you're playing an Elton John tribute band. You should just be loading up tons of gig footage, and it looks like you have just like a fairly modern drum set. But man, what if you had the Nigel, the bottomless toms and the snare drum covered in duct tape and all that stuff, and just go right to the source, man.
True. Yeah,
Put that on the
absolutely.
socials, and people be like, "Have you seen this MFer that's like nailing the Nigel thing? Holy shit!"
Yeah, man. The Nigel Tom fills. It's the best. I mean, that guy is the. That's right. The king of feel,
Yeah.
man. It
So what's your opening song and what's your closing? Is Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting your closer?
It's what's our closer? No, we do Benny as an opener.
Awesome.
And then we do what's our closer?
Benny's a
I
great
think
opener
it's
because all you got to do is go, Ank,
yeah, that's right. And everybody's like,
Ank.
oh,
I saw him. I saw him at Nissan Stadium here in Nashville, and that was the opening song. And of course, I was getting like a wine spritzer and peeing, and my girlfriend was waiting for me, and she's like, and I heard Ank, and she's like, "Oh my god, we gotta get to our seats!" Oh my god, we were like way up in the nosebleeds. It was fun though.
Yeah,
it was really great.
Yeah, man. But yeah, our closer is "Someone Saved My Life Tonight." I think that's
nice.
The last song we play, which is always
Killer,
it's a with the harmonies, and yeah, love doing the Elton stuff, man. It's
how did you get that job? Was it all friends, or was it like an audition? Or?
Yeah, so it was literally. So I used to play in a blues trio here in London, and then the bassist one day rung me up and said, "There's this guy Tom, who's the front man of the Elton band, and he was just looking for people for like recording sessions for like video recording. He was at the time he was kind of setting up like a function band kind of thing." And I was like, cool. I had to learn 66 songs in a week. So 33 Elton, 33 Beatles songs. So I had to do the Ringo feel as well, which is deceptively difficult. I feel like a lot of people, man, and I hate this. This is my pet peeve, is when people say Ringo's not a good drummer. Like that is a problem if people think that Ringo's not a good drummer. Because like trying to emulate his parts, man, is very, very difficult to like nail that down.
Boom, boom. Is it on the N of 4 or is it on the E of 4? Because sometimes that high tom is on the E of 4, and sometimes it's in between. It's just a very open flam. All those parts, just the D's, great.
It's not, or that like in between shuffle thing on like All My Lovin', and like just I would tell anybody that thinks the Ringo is not a good drummer to go and sit down and actually try and play those songs like as authentically as you can. You can't do it. It's like playing along to AC/DC. It's like the Phil Rudd feel. It's another guy that people underrate. It's that the way he rides the hats, just that like, the tenacity in that groove, and
the focus, the intention of the eighth notes in the measure.
That's right.
There's very little 16th note fills from Phil. Phil's are mostly eighth notes, which is, it's just, no. And, Ringo, dude, he's just a vibrant human being. He's like 80 years old, peace and love. And he's thin. He's got his marbles. He's got it together, man.
Yeah. What a guy. Yeah. But Rich, so we touched on social media a couple minutes ago. I want to come back to the whole social media chops thing. How do you feel about the kind of chops culture of today, where it's all of these young cats just like ripping gospel chops? What's your sort of thoughts on that?
I love it. That exists, and we have a showcase for all that kind of stuff. But if I was going to showcase, I just showcase my parts and playing songs and all that kind of stuff, because that's really where you're going, unless you become a full-time drum clinician, which I do not recommend, because it's a dying art. It's like me and Shulman and Kenny and Stanton and Jim and Todd Zuckerman. There's like, we're trying to keep it alive, man. We are trying to keep that tradition alive. But that's where you can show off that stuff. And then it's crazy. On my clinics, I don't even take a solo. I jump right into playing songs because I want people to be able to do this, and I want people to be able to buy a house at some point. And that's playing the appropriate drum parts, staying out of the way of the vocal, having everything tasty, have everything be solid. That's the function of a drummer. And then I think people would be very surprised the level of chops that I have in my hands. It's like I did the marching band for 8 years, and then I worked on my Carmine and my Bissonette double bass stuff. It's there. It needs to be in the well. The real trick is not using it. You know what I mean? Using it only at the right time. Having that discipline and having that taste. But as far as like that, the level of hand and foot combination, speed, power, and everything that's going on in the world today, woo, it's crazy. It's hard to keep up with. So I'm fine with it, man. If people want to put their musical image out there, like this is what I do, it's great. I would just choose to not do that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Or do both, man. It's like, check it out. I can, and then you're like, show both sides. And then you're like, ooh, then the work opens up because fusion guys can be like, oh man, we got to get this cat. And then all the song guys would be like, oh, we got to get this cat, and then your whole world opens up.
Yeah. I think that's the ideal scenario probably.
Yeah.
Is having those chops, but then also, as you say, being able to just lay it down. Like I was, you obviously will have heard of El Estepario Siberiano.
Oh my God, insane. It's insane.
Yeah, unbelievable. But like, obviously he's chopping all the time, playing Slipknot with one hand and all this stuff. But then he recently, I don't know if you listened to his band. He recently put together.
I haven't heard him play music. It's crazy.
And that's the thing. Like when I listened to the first single, I was like, oh, wow, he's literally just laying it down, playing really simple, really like for the song. And obviously with someone like that, you'd expect him to be like all over the place, chops for days. And it's incredible. But it's also nice to see that he can just lay it down and hold back and not, overpower the song.
That's great. I'll have to hear that. Yeah. I mean, that's a perfect example of a guy who you can use this platform that exists in the world to go, ta-da, here I am. Because where was that guy? And then all of a sudden, smiling at the camera. Crazy.
For sure.
He'll be a big brand ambassador for huge brands, and he'll go out there and he'll do drum festivals, and it's all ahead of him, man. That's great.
Yeah. Rich, I've been meaning to ask you, where does that, just out of curiosity, where does that that like simple choking thing that you do, kind of, because you're a real showman, that thing. Yeah. Where does that come from? Was that's something that you actively thought to do, or did it just come out one day?
It came from a guy named Carmine Appice, who was with the Vanilla Fudge and Rod Stewart. Gotcha. And then before him, or along the same lines, it was a guy named Dino Danelli who played in a group called the Rascals. Good love, got Dino, good gang, good, that whole thing. So he did a lot of that kind of stuff. I think Prairie Prince does some of that stuff. I had a hero growing up who's now my friend, Sandy Gennaro. He played in Cyndi Lauper's band forever, and he did that a lot. I try not to overuse it, but sometimes a good time to use it is like, instead of opening up the hi-hat on the and of 4, you could do that little thing, and it creates just a fun little, almost like a reverse cymbal gate type effect. And it's sexy, and it makes people notice you or whatever. So it's a good thing. There's Dino Danelli and Carmine Appice. What's up, guys?
Okay, yeah. I got a friend, a very good friend called Carmine, who's actually named after Carmine Appice.
Oh, really? His dad was a drummer?
His dad wasn't even a drummer. No, I don't think his dad even played music, but he loved Vanilla Fudge and like Cactus and that stuff. So, he's really into like that old school stuff. So, he literally named him Carmine after Carmine Appice.
That's crazy. Yeah, there's nothing new under the sun, man. There's 12 notes. So you got to figure out what to do with 12 notes, and drumming wise, a lot has been done. So we're just stealing at this point, But hey, someone like Estepario is moving the the trajectory of the instrument forward, because the instrument's only 100 years old. It's a little over 100 years old when you think about the birth of jazz, in the early 1900s there, and we're in the early 2000s, so it's about 100 years old, man. Incredible.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, as you say, people like that, Sipario and I mean, you see guys like Eric Moore and these guys who just the chops are unbelievable.
And just the control of Thomas Lang. I mean, I've sat in a room with Thomas, looking over his shoulders with him, like doing an ostinato with his feet broken up over 4 different pedals, and then playing a melody in his right hand, and then doing another reverse melodic thing on a set of octobans. And I'm like, wow, this guy is, someone like that comes along every 20 years. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember going to Thomas's boot camp a few years ago, and it was like really stuck with me. And his practice philosophies are amazing. Cause as I say, I mean, from what you've probably realized, I'm kind of obsessed with practice and how people practice. And I find it surprising because I talk to some people who I would think they probably do the 8 hours a day, but they're like, oh no, I don't really have like a fixed practice schedule. And they're unbelievable players. But you're like, how do you not sit down for 8 hours in practice? I guess it's different for different people, but I find Thomas's like practice philosophy is incredible. And it's kind of when I started to, to really go deep on sort of using a logbook and maybe keeping track of what I've been doing and setting a timer.
Smart.
Is something that's been such a game changer.
I think so, man. Thomas to this day, he's like a deep practicer. And I think that, he would hear somebody saying, I don't practice as much as he would just like shake his head like, well, how do you expect to move the needle on the instrument, And I don't know. I don't know if I'm trying to move the needle. I'm just trying to play music and have the people in the band go like, that was awesome. Great night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love your philosophy on like being a showman as a drummer. Cause it's like you say, if you're playing in like stadiums and arenas, so obviously huge venues. And so if you've obviously got someone in the nosebleeds up in the cheap seats, it's like, and they're looking down, you're looking, like you said before in other podcasts, you're down there like a small ant. And so what can you do to like stand out and I assume that's probably a big reason why people, why a lot of people hire you for live gigs. Cause you've got that, like you're swinging your arms around, you've got that constant like energy and tenacity on the kit. And
well, I appreciate it. I think that, in the situation that I'm in, it works. But, if I'm playing like a Pops concert or playing with Mannheim Steamroller, or if I'm playing with say an orchestra at the Hollywood Bowl, man, you're going to be reading and just concentrating on doing the thing. And it's pretty intense. And if so, some of those cameras find you and put you on the big screen, that's great. That's gravy. But, for the gig that I do, it's high energy rock, country infused rock storytelling. And so we're like, hey, let's go larger than life, man. Let's be. We're playing 3 chords here in a giant backbeat, so let's like milk it, So you kind of got to know, kind of got to read the room. Would I do that on a wedding? Probably not. But there's still, there's this thing called charisma, and you have it or you don't. And it's hard to teach, but it's just it's the way of just being in your skin and behind your instrument. And some people are just incredibly boring to watch, and other people are just like, oh my God, who's that? Let's hire that guy. I'd rather be the second guy.
For sure. And is that something that you put a lot of sort of thought into over the years, or was that just something that came naturally for you?
I think so. Sometimes you play in bands along the way where sometimes you don't have the greatest front man. Like before I joined Aldean's band, there was a lot of like wedding bands and corporate bands and stuff with just guys that were just kind of boring. So you just do the things you can to keep the dancers on the dance floor and to keep people interested. So if you stand up on the crash or you do some twirls that you stole from the marching band, can't hurt. It can't hurt. And then as the venues start to get bigger and you're moving from 5,000 seat, half basketball arenas to the 12,000, 20,000 seaters, the outdoor amphitheaters, everything just kind of gets a little bit more anime and amplified, and it just becomes, yeah, it's an evolution, really, you know.
Hell yeah, man. Well, Rich, we're coming to the end of this episode. Is there anything that you want to kind of shout out or plug that you've got coming up?
Man, you guys could just go to richredmond.com. It's Redmond. It's kind of a hub for all things. And you know, you could see what I've been up to, you know, my motivational speaking, who my clients have been. If there's anybody that's listening that's like, hey, let's bring this guy in and, you know, pump up my corporation, we could do that thing. And then you can hire me for clinics. A lot of people have been flying into Nashville and doing this, my drum intensive, which is 7 hours with me. And we address all the stuff, man, rudiments, reading, coordination, styles, playing with a click, understanding the Nashville number system, charting, doing loops, doing percussion. That's been really, really a fun thing. So yeah, man, check that out. And then come see us on tour this year. And then maybe go to Jeff Bezos, Amazon.com, and throw me some love and pick up a copy of the new book, Making It in Country Music, an Insider's Look at the Industry.
I may have to get that.
Yeah, man. You don't have it already? Come on. You can actually get it on your Kindle, your iPad, and then hopefully we'll sell enough copies that they'll be like, hey, man, read it. Read the book, you know. My last book, Crash Course for Success, I read that, and you can get it on Audible. And so when you're driving or working out, you can have me read the book to you.
Right. Hear your soothing voice in the car.
Yes. In a galaxy far, far away. So how's London, man? You like living there? Are you going to try to come to the States? You marry an American girl? What are you doing, man?
Honestly, my dream is probably the States, man. I from all the places I've traveled, like whenever I'm in the States, I feel the most kind of at home, and I resonate the most with American people.
Nice.
It's like, you know, obviously British people are polite and kind, but they're more like the reserved kind of, yeah, all right, mate. You know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Americans are like the opposite. Americans are like, you know, loud and
obnoxious. Yes.
Forthright. Not obnoxious. No, but like, you know, I mean, I suppose there's as many obnoxious people anywhere. You know, America, UK, you can find obnoxious people everywhere. But yeah, I mean, I think America is like my dream to go to. Nashville. The first time I went to Nashville, honestly, was like it really planted a seed to where I was like, I've never been to a place that lives and breathes music as much as Nashville, and you can feel it everywhere you go. Like that joke, yeah. You know, you go to the coffee shop and the barista is a better guitar player than you. You can really feel that, and everyone you talk to is a musician, and you're like, this is rad, man. This is so cool. Obviously, I can imagine it's very competitive, but it's yeah, man. It's
polite competition, cool, and we have a great community that lifts each other up here. And like I said, I've spent time in the other music communities in the United States, and there is nothing like Nashville when it comes to this music culture. In LA, it's more like everyone's an actor, right? And then here, it's everyone is a musician. Everyone is somehow in the music business, you know.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, but it's nice. It's nice to hear from somebody, obviously that's kind of made it in that scene. To hear you say that, you know, there's still room for people to come to Nashville, and still seems like a place to go, to be in the, you know, in the hub of the happenings.
I think you should move here, man. I think you would do just fine. I think, you know, you just got to figure out a way to do it. And, you know, I don't know how that works, that whole thing. I've written a lot of letters to students trying to get their green cards and stuff. I think I've done that 4 or 5 times. But, you know, putting a date on the calendar, that's a monumental life change type situation where it does require some planning. Figure out when you want to make it happen, and then reverse engineer it. Okay, how am I going to get over there? Where am I going to get the apartment? And am I going to just rent a room, live like a rat for a while, you know, just save my money? Do I have to get a little day job? Hey, maybe I can move some drums over at Drum Paradise for Harry, or, you know, maybe I can push some cases over at Center Staging or whatever, until you kind of get things connected. But I think you should do it, man. Keep in touch with me.
Hell yeah, we'll do it for sure, man. But yeah, Rich, I appreciate you coming on, taking the time. Thanks for the chat.
Oh, man. My pleasure, man. You remind me of a younger me.
Well, I'm flattered. Thank you very much.
Oh, man. Keep it up, brother. Keep it up. Give me money.